Heading into week 13, the last week before the fantasy playoffs. Nameco right here. I am Dustin. These are your week 13 rankings to hopefully help you make those last minute calls.
I went with the double gun.
Double gun?
Yeah.
You didn't do the clicks though.
What was the starter's name? Pick the starter's name.
Ben.
Ben! Shout out to Ben the starter. That's where Dustin and I met on a golf course, cleaning golf clubs. Either way, this is about standard rankings. Week 13, these will be updated during the week. There's a lot of banged up people right now. So based on these injuries, I'll be moving people up and down, and we'll be doing a lot of things like that. So be checking back on the website, fantasysmackdog.com. Check out the rankings because they will be updated.
There you go. Quarterbacks, I'm talking about a guy that's really been coming on as of late. We've all been talking about him, talking about my waiver wire show, Colin Kaepernick. I mean, it's been pretty good. And here's the thing with Colin, it's just, with that offense and what weapons they have, he's asked to do so much. And that's why we have him in the top 10. Chicago, they're actually pretty good against the run. They're decent against the pass. It's not the easiest defense, but again, Colin is like half their whole offense. Just with him running with his legs, over 100 rushing yards last week. It's ridiculous. Just from volume in terms of what they're going to ask him to do, we think he's top 10 this week.
Number 15, talking about Dak Prescott. The kid has been absolutely unbelievable. Now he's playing the Vikings that I wanted to say the vaunted Vikings defense, but they ain't there anymore, unfortunately. But still, it's a little bit of a tougher matchup than some of the other teams Prescott has faced. The thing that I really like about this kid, he's had 5 rushing touchdowns on the year. He's eligible to do that any week. So while we don't have him as a lock top 10 play, he's still a decent spot start if you need to.
That Minnesota defense.
Vaunted. Oh, God, I'm so upset with them.
Let's move over to the running backs.
They should be better.
They were good for a while.
They're still good.
They're still good. Let's move to the running backs. Guy I want to talk about is Jordan Howard. Now, this is a guy that's been on a bit of a roller coaster ride this year, but this matchup against San Francisco, they give up the most points to running backs. You got to be excited about it. You got to think this is going to be one of his good weeks. He really hasn't had much competition as of late with touches. It really looks like Howard is in line for a solid week, and that's why we got him at number 6.
All right, at number 12, we have Jay Ajayi. And this is what I want to tell you because they're playing Baltimore. So what you're going to hear is the number 1 rush defense, yards per game, You're just going to hear all about that all week. So you're going to want to switch him for somebody else. We have him at 12. That means you are starting him most likely. I can't see many teams having, guys 1 through 11 in there. So go ahead and start him. Yes, it's a little bit scarier for a matchup, but he's always got the chance to fall into the end zone. I do like Jay Ajayi this week. Don't overthink it.
Let's move into the second 20 at running backs. Mr. Thomas Rawls, huge disappointment last week.
Oh, big time.
With Michael gone and Procise injured, it looked like it was Rawls' chance to go back to the Rawls of last year, but it wasn't just Rawls last week. It was the entire Seattle offense. I have no idea what happened. They looked awful against a Tampa Bay team that isn't really even that
talk about
great.
vaunted defense. That looked like the greatest defense ever last week.
That was ridiculous. So basically I'm just saying don't completely write off Rawls. I mean, we got him at 22. I mean, he's not, we still think he's a really good flex option. He has a lot of upside. They don't have much options out there at running back. He's going to be the guy. So if their offense does better this week, then Rawls should do better as well.
All right, next guy I'm talking about is Tevin Coleman. And if you're excited he came back last week, he was terrible, but he salvaged the week with a touchdown. He had 9 rushing yards, 4 receiving yards, but he did have the touchdown. The thing about Coleman this week, though, that makes him tough to trust is Kansas City. They've allowed the fewest rushing touchdowns. He's clearly splitting with Freeman. He's clearly on the back half of that because of the injury. So I'm going to see him become the old Coleman for a week, and then maybe he'll move up the rankings next week.
I like that. Receivers.
Thanks, boss.
Lots of craziness going on with receivers right now. With all these guys breaking out, and veterans that you can't really seem that you can trust anymore. It's been a crazy year for receivers. But I'm going to talk about Brandon Marshall, one of the biggest disappointments so far this year. So happy that I drafted him in my PPR leagues thinking he was safe. But he looked pretty good. He had his bye week 2 weeks ago. I think he's probably as healthy as he's been since he had his knee injury way back early in the season. Decent matchup against Indy. I think there could be some points to go around in that game. We got him at 11. We think Marshall could have a good week. He found the end zone last week for the first time, and I don't even know how long. It's been a long time. Thank you, Marshall. But this could be a week where he could redeem some of his crappiness.
Not bitter at all there with Brandon Marshall.
Not at all.
All right, so I'm going to actually talk about the biggest disappointment probably at receiver, and that you're looking to see who it is, aren't you?
I am.
It's number 20.
Yeah.
DeAndre Hopkins. If you own him, you knew who I was talking about.
Well, you could argue him or Robinson, but yes.
But he was going. Some people took him like 5 overall.
Robinson is early second.
Yeah, 5 overall. It's mid first. Yeah. So anyway, we'll argue about that after the show, Dustin. I'm definitely right here. But Hopkins at number 20, so obviously he's not a must start at number 20, right? But he is playing Green Bay. Green Bay doesn't necessarily scare me too much in their secondary. Hopkins only had 3 touchdowns this year. I would not be shocked if he gets his 4th against Green Bay. I think at this point the Texans, they're going to have to, I think they'll target him a little bit more. I think he has the opportunity, but again, not a must start being at number 20. But if you have him and you're like, I'm benching him no matter what, think again. You might want to start him because Green Bay secondary is not good at all.
Next guy I want to talk about is Tyrell Williams. They're going up against Tampa Bay. Here's the thing with Williams. He has a shoulder injury. It's the same injury that he's had surgery on in the past. It's a little scary. He could go in, he could tweak it during the game, or he could just, might not have, the same ability to go up and get the ball that he normally has. So we got him at 23 right now. Depending on the reports, we might move him down. But a guy that has looked pretty good that we have it down at 38 right now is Inman. He could definitely move up and be a nice spot start this week if it looks like Williams is going to be at all limited.
All right, next guy I'm talking about is Devontae Parker. And Parker last year, right now they're playing Baltimore. Parker last year, a lot of people came into this year with a lot of hype around him because of the way he finished last year. And after the last couple games, it looks like Parker could finish, maybe just a really late start. He needs like 10 games to get going, but he might finish strong again this year. They've been targeting him a little bit more. He's looked solid on the field. And the one thing I just want to buyer beware with him is his back is a little messed up, so he's on the injury report. I think he does play, and with Ajayi getting a lot more focus, Parker, that's helped Parker, I think, more than anybody on the team. So if that rush defense is so tough, they're going to throw the ball, they're going to throw it to Parker.
He's made some pretty good catches lately.
He's a sick receiver. It's just
coming along.
It takes him 11 weeks to get going.
It takes a while.
Slow starter. Real slow starter.
Let's go to tight end and talk about a guy that's been a bit of a headache as of late, and that's Rob Gronkowski. We had him up at number 1 at first, and we're like, let's move him to 3. Because if you have Kelsey and Reed, you're starting them. You're not taking the risk because Gronk's been active twice this year and had 0 points. So it's just too risky. But if you have him and he's active, unless you have another really good option, you're almost certainly starting him. But it's just those goose eggs will kill you.
Yeah, and a guy that I've already seen questions Gronk verse is Kyle Rudolph. So I want to talk about him real quick. Minnesota against playing Dallas. Kyle Rudolph had 9 catches last week, so it looks like one week he gets 2 catches, the next he gets 9, then 7, then 1. So he's obviously all over the map, but I do think there's upside there, and I do think he's a touchdown threat.
Oh, and you got to make that call by Thursday.
Yeah, that's the tough thing, right? Who do you go, Rudolph or Gronk?
Rudolph's so frustrating to
I think you go Gronk now. If he doesn't play or it's not looking good, then you can pick somebody else up. Yeah, it's not the end of the world if you don't start Rudolph.
Kendricks if you need to.
Right, exactly.
Let's move to defense. I want to talk about Seattle at number 3. Carolina's offense is just not what they were last year. I just don't want anyone to think, see Carolina and think that it's something to be scared of. Carolina's offense is giving up a lot of points to opposing defenses. If you have Seattle, you're happy you got them and you're starting them.
I didn't even think about this, but I'm going to talk about the Ravens, so clearly a lot of focus on that game for me. And I kind of like the Ravens D. That's why it's a little weird. I was not hating. Again, don't be so scared of them, but the thing that I do like about the Ravens defense this week, let's say the rush D does hold up, and they're doing solid there. The thing that I like about them is they've been getting about 3 sacks a game in their last 5, so they are getting to the quarterback a little bit. So if your league counts sacks, I like them a lot more than just if it's all based on points against.
What leagues do that?
Some leagues do that. So leagues do weird things. Try to explain it to you all the time. Every league's different. It's very odd.
That's very abnormal.
What, the sacks don't count?
What league doesn't count sacks?
I don't know. Post a comment if your league doesn't count sacks. I bet there's a league out there. There's leagues out there that do week 17 for their championship.
Oh, that's just dumb. Nanko right there.
Somebody post if your leagues don't count sacks on defense. I hope there's a league out there.
Post how ridiculous it is.
That is, I know. I'm telling you, it's like 8%, right? I'm going maybe 8%.
Maybe 0.8.
Come on, terrible commissioners out there. Help me out. Help me out. I know it's a bad comment. I don't even believe it myself, but I'm just trying. I just want to win. I want to beat him. I want to win. Give me that paper.
I won that one and it hasn't even started.
Dustin, tell him to like or something.
Like us, subscribe.
Ooh, another good toss.
Check
Please.
out the rankings.
Leave a comment. Thumbs up. Pen flip.